What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Saint Maud ending explain and review. There will be spoilers in this video, and if you enjoyed it, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a video. Saint Maud was a true powerhouse movie and easily one of the best movies of 2020. I saw this back when it came out in the cinemas in the UK and was the last movie I saw in the cinema, and the actress who played Maud was just superb, bringing this intriguing and complex movie to life. Now, we open with Katie, who is a carer and tried to save a patient with CPR, but unfortunately accidentally kills the person she was trying to resuscitate. Now, after this, she has an epiphany and has now become a Roman Catholic and changed her name to Maud. She is assigned as an end-of-life carer to a former dancer, Amanda, in a town that, while it is not named, it was filmed in Scarborough in North Yorkshire. Now, over the course of the care, Maud becomes convinced that God has tasked her with saving Amanda's soul after Amanda admits that she fears death and is also a heavy sinner. Over the course of the movie, we see her commit many so-called sinful acts, such as drinking, out-of-marriage sex, and also sex with the same sex. Now, Maud admits that she feels God's presence and is overcome with ecstasy as she convinces Amanda to pray together. But Amanda just pretends that she feels all of this too, as she's kind of intrigued with this new person in her life. And however, things get very complicated as Amanda has a regular visitor called Carol, who Amanda is actually paying for sexual encounters from, and Maud becomes very angry and frustrated at this as it's distracting Amanda from, the whole saving of her soul. Now, after meeting a former colleague named Joy, it's hinted at just how much this CPR incident has damaged Katie, aka Maud. However, she takes her number so they can meet later, and I thought we'd never see this character again until we saw her later in the movie. Now, throughout the early part of the movie, Amanda does feign interest in Maud's religion, all the while being what Maud perceives her as a sinner, and even gives Maud a book of religious drawings, which really Maud takes to heart, and unfortunately thinks that Amanda is all in on trying to get her soul saved. But they have a real fractional and frictional relationship. Maud takes it upon herself to ask Carol to leave Amanda alone, and she's very worried about Amanda's soul, and Carol does actually surprisingly agree for this. But personally, I knew this wouldn't last very long, and the silent desperation of Maud is unnerving and beyond tense as the movie rumbles on with the relationship between Amanda and Maud, with the former clearly seeing her as a plaything just to use in her final days. However, just while everything seemed to go well, at a party Amanda is drinking and entertaining her guests while Maud quietly seethes about this whole party. The drinking really does affect Amanda, as we saw earlier in the movie when a friend of hers came round, and it affected her whole kind of palliative care. However, Carol does turn up, much to Maud's anger, and the tensions between the pair finally come to a head after Amanda is trying to get Maud to enjoy the party and let her hair down, which she really doesn't want. And she had a life before this, before her religious kind of epiphany, and that was probably what she saw as her downfall and led to her actually having the CPR accident. As misguided as that is, that's probably what she feels. Now, the parallel between a dying woman trying to save, or at least by her perception, a young woman's youth, versus a religious woman with a mission from God to save her soul, was a really fresh story to behold. Amanda reveals and mocks Maud for trying to keep Carol away and trying to save her soul, as Maud finally sees red and strikes Amanda, causing her to be fired. It really was going to come to this. She thinks that God has rejected her and falls into a spiral of depression and tries to go out on the town with Joy, but ends up going out alone. She's desperate for conversation and friendship and companionship, and she tries to get into other people's conversations, and it is really awkward and really kind of cringe-inducing. It's a real powerful scene there. But she ends up just giving a guy a hand shandy as he walks off awkwardly and then ends up going home with a guy. She seemingly has reverted back to her pre-soul-saving life. She has intercourse with a man but suffers from flashbacks due to the incident that we saw at the start of the movie, and he continues on without her consent in a really hard to watch scene there. After he taunts her about his mate sleeping with her in the past, and this further confirms her hedonistic past. I imagine that, like I said, this past lifestyle played a big impact on her decision to turn religion, but she probably saw that lifestyle rightly or wrongly as a cause of what happened and turned to the other extreme end of life. Later, she goes on to come across a nurse who is actually now working for Amanda and tries to get information about her, and a tense scene ensues as Maud gushes over the nurse and really is laying it on thick. However, Maud becomes angry when she learns that the new carer has a good relationship with Amanda and simply storms off. Now, Maud begs God for a sign and accepts self-harming and sees pain as a key to having a connection to God, which included, over the course of the movie, putting spikes in her shoes and the real burning sensation on her arms. Now, throughout the course of the movie, we really see her fragile mental state break. And it really has that's it for her mental state here. It is gone as she believes that God spoke to her and tells her to be ready for an act that will prove her faith. However, she is interrupted by Joy, who visits her grotty flat, clearly very concerned for the former colleague. She apologises for not being able to make it out earlier in the week and reacting badly on a phone call as Maud seems to forgive her, but Maud is too far gone now despite the heart-to-heart. She blesses Joy after thinking some clouds are a sign from God. Maud plans to sneak into Amanda's house and save her soul, which she does, and Amanda asks for forgiveness for how things went, as Maud reminds her of their time spent in God's embrace. However, Amanda scolds her and says how she faked the prayer-induced ecstasy and faked really the whole thing. It seems like Amanda just really wanted someone to be normal with her, not to have to pay for coitus, but simply just be their friend. And, well, this was a failure, as Amanda then starts to turn into a demonic beast as Maud recoils in horror, as Amanda as a demon mocks her as a manifestation of how Amanda was when Maud was still her carer, as Maud sees this as simply a test of whether she can save her soul or not. But now the test has become whether she can stop a demon and finally prove her faith, which she does by stabbing Amanda, but really this was all a manifestation, a vision in Maud's fractured mental state. Now in the morning she walks and we see angel wings, which I'd imagine which she feels she has after proving her worth and becoming an angel in her head. She proceeds to commit suicide by burning herself alive, saying glory to God as she imagines everyone kneeling tribute to her. It's clear to me that this was nearly all of this in her head and a way for her to process the sheer trauma of accidentally killing a patient. It was a powerful movie with two clashing lifestyles, and the idea of a woman at the end of life watching someone in her mind waste her life while a young woman tries to save and find purpose post-tragedy. Now, I loved this. It really was a great movie, and I'm excited to see more from Rose Glass, and the actress who played Maud will be in the Lord of the Rings TV series. But that's it for this video, so please drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.